What is going on, guys? We're back here with another video, and in today's video we are going to be discussing Dragonflight, which is the newest expansion that just got announced by Blizzard. And we're just going to be going over the features, going over the announcement, reacting to it, giving my general analysis of, what they've showed so far, and if I like it, dislike it, and just my general opinions. So just the starter thing here. There is a beta opt-in already out. I'll put this in the description below. Make sure you click that, you sign up for it, just so you can get the beta and you can play it if you get invited to it. But the first thing we got to talk about is the new class and race that is coming out. So we got the Drakthir, Invoker. So basically what Blizzard has done is they've created a new race and a new class. And in order to play this new race, you have to play the new class. And in order to play the new class, you have to play the new race. They go together, which is a really interesting idea because obviously if you add a new class, you have to, and you don't do it like this, you have to give it to specific races, or all races can do it, or very minute, certain amount of them can do it. But, with a dragon expansion, why wouldn't people be able to play dragons? This is obviously really, really cool because you can have a humanoid form and a dragon form, which is really nice. It's similar to Worgen, where transform between the two. Kind of similar to DH with meta and out of meta, but it's mainly like Worgen. So they also have a new starter zone, so similar to Demon Hunter and Death Knight, they start in a separate zone than every other class, which I think is a really good idea. Obviously, you don't want these guys running around Westfall or the Barrens, doing things like that. So keeping them in their own separate starter zone, which is one of the 5 new zones that they're adding. No revamps. A lot of people thought revamps were going to happen, but they're not going to have it. Now, this is where I get a little bit iffy with it. They only have 2 specs for it. So they have a ranged DPS spec, which is called Devastation, and then they have a healer spec, which is Preservation. And personally, I think it's great. We needed a ranged DPS spec for the simple fact that there are less ranged DPS specs in the game now than there were in Classic WoW, because they removed Survival Hunter, obviously, and they added, they made it melee. So they needed a ranged DPS, and obviously adding more healers is great. In my personal opinion, I'm kind of upset at the fact that there isn't a tank spec to it. Now, a lot of people will say, there's already been 3 new classes that have been added, and all 3 of them can tank. And I understand that argument. I think it's a perfectly fine argument to make, but my reasoning is that's an old way of thinking in terms of developing a game, right? You make certain things that only certain people can do, right? For me, I personally love tanking. It's what I do. Tons of other people like to do it as well. So we're going to be alienated from playing the new class. Obviously, we can play it, but we're not going to be in the role that we enjoy the most. We're not going to be playing ranged. If you don't like ranged DPS, which I don't like ranged DPS, I prefer being in melee. I don't like healing. So what's my reasoning to play this new class, right? That's a personal opinion, but it seems pretty easy for them to just add a tank spec to it. But that's the only downside that I have with this new spec. I think it looks really, really cool. They're adding empowered abilities, as they call it, or basically charged up abilities, as you can see in the example here, right? So they have this Dream Breath, right? So you basically hit your action button, you hold it down, it goes up, and once you reach here, it gets a little bit more powerful. You hold it up even more, and it gets a little bit more powerful. They said it either will do like more damage, it'll hit more targets or things like that. This is the only class that's getting something like this in the next expansion. They're not adding more abilities to other classes that do this, but I think it's a pretty cool thing. Now, another thing they're adding, another new feature they're adding, is called Dragon Riding. And it's exactly what it sounds like. You basically just customize gear, level up your dragon that you get to ride around and fly, which is really, really cool. So basically, they're giving you flying right from the start. And they said it's flying in quotations because it's not your traditional sense of flying. They're calling it dragon riding because it's going to be a little different. Like the effects of gravity and, speed and everything like that are actually going to impact how fast you fly. And I'm assuming you're going to be able to increase your dragon speed and things like that, which is it's really cool that from the start you get to fly, but it's just not your traditional flying. You can't fly your invincible or any of those mounts yourself. But this looks really cool, especially that it's a feature they're adding to the game that isn't character power focused, right? When we saw with Shadowlands, almost all of the features they added were character power focused, but this one isn't. There's no way this can affect your character's power, which is great to see. I can't wait to do this personally and find a dragon that I like to play, and ride it around and just AFK ride it around. It looks really cool. So, like I said, there is a new continent, the Dragon Isles, and there's 4 zones that they've added: the Waking Shore, the O'Haran Plains, the Azure Span, and Thaldraszus, which is like the end game zone. I'm not really going to go over that because it's just zones and zone art. There's not much more to talk about it, except I think they all look really, really cool. Ride or dive. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier with how it looks. So, this is the dragon riding stuff, which is really, really cool. You can do certain things. You can ride on the ground. You can dive bomb. Your dragon will go faster, as you see with the particles and everything like that. This just looks like a really cool system that everyone will enjoy, right? It's not something that the top 1% enjoy or just the super casuals enjoy. Everyone's going to really enjoy this. Now, there's 3 important things that they're adding here, which will impact your gameplay. So they are updating talent again. So ever since they removed the old talent trees from the game in MOP, people have been complaining that they want it back. And Blizzard themselves said after watching people play through Classic WoW and BC, they saw that why people really enjoyed the old talent tree. It was a really, really good way of making your character more powerful, they said. Because, you level up once and you don't gain anything sometimes, right? But nowadays, when you level up in the new expansion, you're going to gain a talent point. So what they've done here is they've separated it into 2. So you have your spec talent points here. So this is just showing Restoration Druid. You have Restoration Druid here, and then you have Basic Druid talent points here. And you can just spec into whatever you want. So what we've learned so far is that the square boxes are abilities. The circles here are passives, and the hexagon stuff is, or octagon, whatever it is. I can't see how many sides. I'm too lazy to look. But the hexagon, octagon things are choices. So I know for this certain one down here at the bottom here for Resto Druid, you either get to choose between Tree of Life or Convoke the Spirits, which is an interesting choice to make. People have noticed that you can spec into Dispel. So if you're doing a raid fight or a dungeon where you don't have a Dispel, you don't have to spec into it. You can spend your talent points on Nourish or something else. Spend it later on down the line somewhere else that will just allow you to build your character up. Now, what's interesting here is on the other side, it's all the other classes. Specs. So for the most part, they're all the exact same from what we saw. We've seen the Balance Druid one and the Resto Druid one. These are all the same, but you can spec into it, right? So say you're a Feral Druid, you can spec into Innervate finally, or Guardian Druid can spec into Innervate here, right? Or a Feral Druid or a Guardian Druid or a Balance Druid could spec into Cenarian to Wild Growth or Cenarian Ward or Cyclone, right? Like, this is just what players wanted. They wanted to be able to just make their character feel unique. Obviously, there's going to be certain ones that are more broken than others, but no one's going to talk about that because not that they're not going to talk about that. Like, there's going to be specific talent builds like there always is, but on a basic level, you get to make the decisions on what you think is best, and that's what's awesome about this new system. Alright, so they're also changing professions and crafting. So basically they're adding a work order system to the game. So similar to the auction house, basically let's say, you needed to build the spurred world boots of the dragon. You can go to this work order station and you can submit the work order. You can provide all of the regents for it, and someone will take that order and you can give them a little bit of gold or something like that, tip them, and they'll make it for you. They'll be able to level up their crafting with it, make a little bit of gold, and you'll get your item for it. So no more spamming trade chat or spamming general chat or your guild for someone to come make your stuff for you. Instead, you can just do this, and your gear can get made. And honestly, this is a really good thing on a solo level, because some people play one character only. They can only have two professions, and they, if they're a plate wearer but they want to be engineer and alchemy, they can't make their own gear. But now you can farm up all the resources for it, and you can create, and you can get someone to create all your gear for you without having to search out someone. Now, the last thing is the WoW's UI is being updated. They're basically changing it to similar to ELV UI and all those add-ons like that, where you can just change it around to what you want it to look like. So as we can see here, the health bar and stuff like that is all changed. What's the next picture? Oh, it's not that. But they showed earlier on that you can like move in the video. You can move your map down to like the bottom here. You can move your action bars up, remove the griffins. You can move everything anywhere basically. And they've basically said that this is going to allow people to play the game more on like how they wanted to, and give a better beginner user experience, because some people play with these massive monitors, and they don't want to get a neck issues from having to look up their health or their enemy's health or things like that, or look down at their bars. So you can customize your UI how you want it to be done, and this is a great addition by Blizzard, because people have been wanting this for a while now. Obviously, you don't have to change your UI, but they finally have said, you know what, we're going to modernize our UI and make it better, which is a great change. So something I didn't say, the level cap is now going to 70. You're going to basically have a very linear story path when you're leveling, similar to Shadowlands. In my overall opinion, this is looking really good as of an expansion so far. My great takeaways from this is that they haven't announced, or they're not going to announce, a grindy system that's going to force you to have to play every day or every week, which is really nice. The only grindy system is going to be the talent system, depending on how that works, from 60 to 70. The only downside I have is obviously the new class and race. I want there to be a tank spec. I hope they change their decisions and add a tank spec. There's a very easy way to do it, though balancing and everything like that is hard, and designing a tank spec is, or just designing a new spec in general, is a very difficult thing to do. They probably won't add it, but I'm hoping they do, because I really want to play this new class and race. But I might have to do that as an alt, unfortunately, unless I main DPS in the expansion. Who knows? But overall, this is a great expansion, and I can't wait to see it. Check out the description below if you want to see this whole article yourself, and make sure you sign up for that beta so you can test it out and make sure the expansion is good and ready to go when it launches. Anyway, that'll be it for today. Peace out.